Hey, Matilda, 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 she take me money and run Venezuela. Once again now, Matilda, 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 she take me money and run Venezuela. $500 friends I lost. Woman even sell me cat and horse. Hey, Matilda, she take me money and run Venezuela. Everybody, Matilda, sing out the chorus. Matilda.
Oh, the monthly sustainers sing now. I'll tell you a secret from inside. That's Harry Belafonte, obviously, and I had to play that song, obviously for reasons that should be apparent. But you know what? There's a women singing in the background, and this is probably a little bit too early for it to be her. I don't know if I'm allowed to say these things, but I'm going to say this anyway. Diane Orson. To me, Diane Orson and I are very similar in terms of the firmament. the firmament of public broadcasting. I don't even know what the word firmament means in that context. But I think we're really colorful nerds. Like, we're both nerds, but I think we're very colorful nerds. And Diane more so than I. But Diane Orson, I don't think this is a big secret. She sang backup vocals. She toured the world, I think, singing backup vocals to Harry Belafonte. So I don't think she's on this recording, but I also don't think you could rule out the possibility that she did sing this song. And that's a public broadcasting thing. We have interesting, colorful nerds. And I think Diane and I both epitomize this. I'm proud to be one, and I bet you she is too. All right, so ask or tell me anything, 888-720-9677, 888-720-WNPR. Now, I have to tell you a thing. This will be good. Dave wants to talk about music too. So the thing I have to tell you is that on Monday, I had my first ever experience with cataract surgery. I had a cataract removed. I think that's typically what they do. Maybe there's some people who have cataracts implanted. It's a choice. I don't judge it. And it was fine. But then you come in the next day and you see your doctor. And so my doctor, and my eye doctor doesn't do material. That's just not who he is. I've had, I had doctors who did material, but he doesn't. He's my doctor. But he said something. He said, well, you won the prize yesterday and I'm waiting because first of all, those words don't ordinarily get spoken to me. And I could tell it probably wasn't a MacArthur, but he said, you won the prize yesterday for having the biggest cataract removed at the Rocky Hill Surgery Center. And that didn't really seem like a prize exactly. And the way that then he said, I may get this a little bit wrong, but it was sort of like he said something like the way that they measure cataracts or the removal of cataracts, people they tend to be whatever the scale means. 3, a 4, a 5, a 6. And then he said, yours was a 13. I had like the spinal tap of cataracts. They had to turn it up higher. And when he said it, now I could be imagining this. I could be imputing this. But it was almost like my cataract, it was like the old man in the sea, like my cataract was this marlin that he'd had to wrestle to the side of the boat. It was... And so anyway, as a result of having a 13 cataract removed, my vision is not really great today. I mean, my vision is good in one eye, the eye that didn't have cataract surgery yet. And so just be aware of that. Be patient. If your name is Stephen and I call you Cheryl, that's because I couldn't read the screen very well. But I think it's going to go fine. I'm not worried. And you shouldn't be either. But please feel free to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I do think the real big question is this going to be a lot of calls about Venezuela? Is it going to be a lot of calls about my cataract surgery? Or is it going to be, probably the most desirable, a mix of many things? And here, to get us started on a mix of many things, is Dave, Lake Como, Dave from beautiful Lake Como, Ohio. Dave, you have the floor.
Thank you, Colin. Well, so did the eye doctor say this one goes to 13 as he calibrated his dial?
He didn't. And like I say, he doesn't do material, I've had funny doctors. He doesn't. He's not somebody who would do material. I don't think. The anesthesiologist, I should say, the anesthesiologist listens to the show. Hi, Kevin. Dr. Kevin. I'm not going to say his whole name because I don't want to implicate him. But it was really nice because, you're lying there and you think, well, I'm just, wheeling a lot of bodies around here at the surgery center. I'm just one of them. And then it turns out he really likes the show. He listens, and that made me feel somewhat reassured. And I would say, from an anesthesiology point of view, I had a very pleasant experience. It's like weird, too, because it looks like some kind of really abstract music video is happening. You just see these like little chunks of color. I mean, I enjoyed watching whatever was happening there. But anyway, that's not what you called up about.
Well, and I wouldn't recommend just now watching the 2-part Star Trek Next Generation Borg episode where, Captain Picard gets his head drilled on and all the stuff.
Is that when is that the one where he becomes Locutus? Is that
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, knowing what I know of you, you do not want to spend the whole hour talking about Venezuela and Trump and military adventures around the world, even though that's what's got me banging my head on the desk, as much as anyone. But so we talked a while back about how we consume, I hate to use that word, it's like a commodity, but how we consume our music, is it physical? There's two schools of thought. I'm the first school, which is I like physical media. I like not only CDs, which I've only built up my collection of, and, for classical and long-form jazz, that I'll have a lot of that kind of stuff. It seems to work very particularly well. And I even listen to LPs in certain situations, like if it was not a digitally made recording originally. But the other school of thought is, and I will have a question. I'll cough up a question.
No, I'm spellbound. Don't feel like you have to get your question yet.
And I, from what you've said, you seem to be in this camp, is that you've fully gone toward the streaming. I know you use Tidal, and that meets all your needs. So the question I have for you is, when you whatever the details were about the time and the thing that made you kind of pushed you into more of the streaming option. Do you still have your CD player? Do you still have your stereo? Or is it all in a closet, or is it all gone and you just listen on your laptop? How deep in that option are you?
Yeah, and the other question is, how long an answer do you and the rest of the audience want to this? Because, the answer is I don't really have very much left from that time. And I should say that I was, as many of you know, America's worst rock critic, which meant I got a lot of albums just sent to me. I used to have a lot of albums. And when we closed up the house, when our family was kind of flying off in different directions, there were a lot of albums there, and I didn't care what happened to them. And I think my son found somebody who would maybe buy some of them, because vinyl actually is, pretty valuable right now. And all of my albums were, they had that thing that they stamp on the album when it's going out to critics. And since I was a pretty negligent rock critic, I probably didn't listen to a lot of those albums enough at all. So they were really worth a lot of money. And I just, there's periods of time when you're going through a transition and you just don't care. You don't really care what happens. So I don't have a phonograph, and I don't have any way to play albums, and I don't have any albums. I think I don't have.
What about
albums.
CD player?
This is a complicated one. All right, this is where it really does get complicated, and it's because we have these two Bose CD players in our house, each of which
same here.
Each of which that. At one point in a lot of sort of spy movies or things like that, they go to the guy, who hasn't had a mission in a while, and they say, "We need you," and he says, "I don't do that stuff anymore." Well, that's kind of what our CD players were saying to us. We came up to them after a few years of indolence, and we said, "I'd like to play the CD for me," and the CD player went, "I don't do that stuff anymore." And I thought, well, that's all you ever did.
Stuttering and skipping, or you're just talking about
it just would go woo, whir, and wouldn't do anything. So eventually, I am one of the least handy people in the world, but there are 3 or 4 things that I know how to do. And one of the things you should always have around, particularly if you don't know what you're doing, what you should have around is, one of those little cans that you can shoot compressed air with out of the little tiny straw. There's a lot of things. You'd be surprised so many things.
Yeah.
I probably should have just done that with my eye and skipped the whole surgery. I probably just had a lot of dirt in my eye. It would have been fine. But so I went in there into the mechanism with the CDs, and I just sprayed compressed air, and I woke the CD player up. And the reason I had a couple of different reasons. One of them is that my father wrote the book for one very unsuccessful Broadway musical, which is now only available in CD form. So I'd like to be able to listen to that. And also people they still make you. So Nora Soros, who's a big fan of the show, she made me this lovely CD mix. You can't call it a mixtape, I guess, a CD playlist. I don't know what you would call it. But anyway, and I wanted to be able to listen to it. So I sprayed it and I threatened it, and I kind of got the CD player working. But the truth is, I hadn't really made a plan to be able to play CDs. And I also want to say, before somebody else says it, I'm a bad person too, because really if I thought about this whole thing, and thought about the economics of it and everything, it's just so unfair, because if everything goes to Tidal and to Spotify and all that stuff, the artists are getting paid, 18 cents or something if they're lucky. It's just so awful. Yeah. So I feel like a horrible human being in addition to an inept person. So anyway, what is your response?
Well, it's twofold. A quick public service announcement. If anyone has those wonderful Bose Wave CD players and you're having the same problem, which I have, don't go out and buy one of those Maxell CD cleaning discs, which work wonderfully for all conventional CD players and probably DVDs too. But those Bose things use a different mechanism, and it actually, to even just clean the lens and all that stuff, it has to be, you either got to take a deep breath and take it apart and clean it yourself with Q-tips and whatever, or take it to a certified technician. But the other thing I was going to say is the reason this all came to my mind today is that as soon as I'm off the phone, I'm on my way to a local audio repair guy with about a 60-pound Sansui 8080 receiver, which is a behemoth, but it needs service, and I need to get my Advent speakers reconed. And, I love the Bose, but it does have its limitations for just like bass response, even though it's miraculous for the size of those little speakers. So I'm actually starting the climb to get the reasonably high fidelity audio system back up and running. So I'm quite excited about that.
And I will say that serious audiophiles are still like that. And I know a number of people. Last I knew, for example, my friend Bill Curry was still like that, and he had really good speakers. And if I think back to my college days, so I arrived at college in 1972, and at that point, it was right around that point that having a component system was a status symbol. It indicated that you understood the moment you were living in. So there was a component system. There was kind of a receiver / amplifier or whatever, and then there was a phonograph table, and then you had these big, huge speakers. And it was like a lot of hardware too, just to pack all that crap up and go to college with it. It was the opposite of portable. But then once you got there, you'd on spring afternoons. Not me, I didn't have any of these things. But one would do this thing where you would put your enormous speakers, you'd cram them into an open window so that you could play the Allman Brothers to a whole bunch of...
Hey, man, talk about mixtapes. Yeah. I had a Sony reel-to-reel recorder, and, at its half-speed setting, you could have a tape that would run for 3 hours. And so I just made, not mixtapes, but, 6 albums on one tape. And, yeah, absolutely. That was fun.
Yeah. The implication being that everybody else wanted to hear the Allman Brothers, which...
Right.
Was an arrogant thing for people to think. But it was sort of weird, because I do feel as though we are moving in this kind of subtly transhuman direction. And I'll give a couple of examples of it. But so the hardware starts to vanish. The hardware becomes less important. People like you who are very serious about your audio experience are in a different group. But for a lot of us, it gets closer and closer to being almost wearable technology, right? Now it's all sitting in our phone, and maybe you've got some kind of, earpod or something like that in your ears. So it's more and more, it's closer and closer to wearable. And
But it's lower and lower fidelity.
Yes.
Too.
Well, that's the sacrifice that you're making. Is that
Can't do it, man. Can't do it.
Yeah, I know. See, you can't do it, and I totally get that. I respect it. I kind of envy and pity it at the same time, because I don't
want your pity.
Well, no, the reason I pity it, so I've spent a lot of my life, my adult life, if you could call it that, hanging around and doing things with Steve Metcalf, and Steve Metcalf has perfect pitch and he just has incredibly keen ears. He can just hear stuff, When he was a classical music reviewer, if he was at a concert and he was a little puzzled by what he was hearing or how it was being played, he would just draw the bars on his notebook and then write the notation that he was hearing as he was hearing. He's like that. So, and so I think for him, if things don't sound right or if the fidelity decreases, I mean, he was pretty happy with the CD revolution, as I recall. But I think as fidelity decreases, he gets less happy because he can really hear the difference. And you can hear the difference. And I think Bill Curry can hear the difference. But for me, I love music and I think about it all the time and it's incredibly important to me. But I'm not a fidelity guy. And in some ways, I feel like that makes my life easier. I don't have to think about the stuff that is getting you to load hardware into your car and try to get it fixed somewhere. I could just do this. And I do want to say, just as a general point, can you tell I have no other calls right now? I'm just talking to you until like 1:25.
I just thought my calls were so
well. It's also
so
that.
Much fun
It's impossible to separate the two things, really. But I had this feeling, I was thinking about this over the vacation time, that, we think about transhumanism and then we start thinking about how it's like robot legs or something like that, or like instead of getting my cataract simply removed, I would have heat vision put in, in one of my eyes or something, so I can melt, Putin's tanks with my... Anyway, but I think it's more subtle than that. For example, with the people that I go for walks with, a number of them now wear mittens that have electronics in them. So you plug your mittens in, before you go out, and then you go out and the mittens are heated up a little bit, and they have lights on them. You can see the lights, and then somebody in the group, I won't say her name, but she came back from the Christmas holidays, and she has a jacket that you plug in and it heats up. And first of all, I worry about that because I think the more dependent you become on technology, the less your body doesn't sort of maybe compensate for as well. Like, I just have mittens on, but they're fine, and I have a jacket.
It's only a short distance from there to a barcode on the back of your neck and a little port into which,
I have one of those. I have a port. I have a port and a barcode. No, I just feel like we are headed for that's what's happening, but it's not going to happen in the way it is in science fiction movies where like we're sitting in, this big, tub of some kind of amniotic pudding, and we come out and we're part robot or something. It's not. We're gonna volunteer for it. Oh yeah, mittens that you plug in, great. I'll take those. And music that I don't have to.
Wet.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we are headed in that direction, but volitionally. The best way to force somebody to do something is to get them to volunteer to do it. All right. So. We are going to take a little break very shortly, but let me just say some things about the phone number. First of all, let's also thank Licomo Dave for getting our entire year off on an exciting foot. But we do have some open lines here, and the number is 888. Some open lines, 888-720-9677. I'm not worried about this. I could talk all day, but 888-720-WNPR. Feel free to call in about anything. And I mean anything, because it's called Ask or Tell Me Anything. It's right there in the name.
If you need a friend, call me. Ain't going nowhere. I'll be right there. Call me no lover, man, but I ain't gonna let it sweat me none.
Can I just say something about this? Because I think just to kind of follow up on the Dave conversation, and then we are going to move on from Dave. Well, we'll never totally move on from Lake Como Dave, but we have some other callers who want to talk. But I want to say that it's hard to keep track of everything in music because there's so much stuff that happens. So this is from a 2025 release, I think like a 4-volume release called Joni's Jazz, and it's some remasters and maybe some stuff. This is, of course, a Curtis Mayfield song. I don't remember hearing her sing this before, but there may be some real rarities on it too. And it came out like in the middle of last year. I had no idea until today that had happened. And I think that's the way music is these days. Like something pretty epic can happen. And even if what do you do? How do you pay attention? How do you make sure things don't happen that you miss? So anyway, or that you don't miss things that happen, or whatever it is I'm trying to say here. Anyway, it's Ask or Tell Me Anything. And the number, I'm pointing at the number right now, 888-720-9677, 888-720-WNPR. But don't say anything to my right eye because I can't see anything really right now. No, I can't really see anything out of it. Treat me a little bit more like Lisa Left Eye Lopez. Let's go to Grace. Grace in West Haven. I think this will be exciting. Hi, Grace.
Hi. Colin, did you know that there's a group of Buddhist monks walking from Texas to D.C. for peace? And they're accompanied by their peace dog named Akola, who has a heart on his face.
Huh. I don't know about this. Tell me more. So these are these American Buddhist monks, Tibetan Buddhist monks?
I think they're a variety. I think some are from America, some are from. I know the dog is from India, so some of them must be from India.
Well, first of all, that really sounds kind of amazing, and now I want to know more about it. How did you find out about it?
Oh, I saw it on Facebook, and I clicked on it, and now I get it every day. I get constant. I just can't believe that it's not on TV. I think it's wonderful. They're getting crowds. People are, giving them flowers. And the dog, sometimes he's on a leash, and sometimes he runs ahead. He leads them.
Yeah.
But
well, of course, the dog may have been a Buddhist monk in a previous existence.
He might have been,
yeah.
Because he was in India, and he joined a group in India. Apparently, they do that. They walk for peace. And he joined the group, and he just kept following them no matter where they went. So finally, they adopted him. And now he's very spoiled. I can see, I see people giving him food, and someone gave him a stroller. And so it's a very nice dog, and he happens to have a heart on his face. It's really sweet.
Well, let me just say a couple of things from my own experience about this. First of all, I think people do like Buddhist monks, and part of my experience with that has to do with there's a period of time where a bunch of Tibetan Buddhist monks came to the People's Republic of Mansfield, Connecticut, and made one of their sand mandalas. And they were there for quite a while, too. It wasn't just like a one-day thing. And, of course, at the end, they destroy it because that's the deal. But they made this beautiful mandala. And just everybody wanted, they came here, they were on the show. I went out there, I had lunch with them and a bunch of other people. And they were really fascinating. And it's just a completely different mindset. So I discovered a couple of different things. And one reason I said the thing about the dog was not to be glib, or not merely to be glib anyway, is that that's what they would tell you. In fact, what they would tell you, what they told me repeatedly, is like it's just really hard to come back as anything more than maybe a bug or something. Like, the idea that you ask them, do you want to come back and be Secretary General of the UN or something? And they go, oh, no, I mean, really, it's going to be very hard to come back as anything much, more elevated than a bug. Not to judge bugs that way, but and so it's just really it's not one of these things where you just promise this terrific reincarnation deal. It's more like, no, you're going to do stuff over and over again, but don't assume that it just keeps getting better all the time, even though you spent your life praying. You spent your life meditating and doing holy things and creating art for the purpose of illustrating holy concepts. You still might just be like a fly and somebody swats it. So that was the first thing. What was the other thing? I can't remember. Oh, here's the other thing. So when they were out there was a guy that they loved. His name was Mr. Bill. And Mr. Bill came up from Washington, D.C., and he's not a Tibetan monk, but he'd gotten to know them somehow down in D.C. And everybody, all the Tibetan monks who would come over to the U.S., they all knew about Mr. Bill. And he was just this huge deal for them. And one thing he told me is, then he would just have them come and stay at his house or his apartment. If they were in town, any bed that he had, they could come stay at it. He said they really, really like Kung Fu movies. Like they will just watch a lot of Kung Fu movies. It doesn't really kind of fit with the whole,
can't imagine.
But I'm glad they have that outlet,
Well, I just want to know, I don't know that much about Buddhism, but do we start out as a human? Do they think that we all start out as a human and then we...
I don't think that that's what they think, but I don't know that. But the good thing is it's Ask or Tell Me Anything. So 888-720-9677.
Okay.
I don't know if they know what they started out as. 888-720-WNPR.
Well, just one more little tidbit about this. In the beginning of the walk, apparently one of them was hit by a car and lost his leg.
Jeez.
And he is saying that it's all right with him that he lost his leg because it's all for peace. So I think that's quite amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's commitment, But they wouldn't be Buddhist monks if they didn't have total commitment. But it's very impressive anyway. All right, so the number 888-720-9677. You can call in. As you can now see, you can call in about just about anything. 888-720-WNPR. Let's go to John in Mansfield. We've also got Luis in New Haven. Let's start with John, though. Hi, John.
Hello, Colin. I am calling because I've learned to love music again.
Mm-hmm.
Your discussion about the audio files was stimulating because there was a time when I was in the time where you could get AM radio, so it was a bit of a desert. And then during COVID, largely, I started to discover music and how wonderful it is and just the wonderful, series of ups and downs and everything in between that one can experience listening to music. So I wanted to give a plug to a non-commercial streaming radio station. It's actually not radio. It's streaming live on your computer.
Wow. Well, yeah,
and
so that makes sense.
I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Radio Paradise. It was originally out of Paradise, California, but they moved, so that no longer applies, but they like the name. And it is human-curated, no AI, and it is no advertising. They occasionally make little comments or say, thanks for listening, or would you please donate to us, because that's the only way they do it. And I literally have a playlist of over 460 songs that I never would have heard if it hadn't been for them. So you were talking about how to stay in touch with what's happening in music. I've learned so much and so much variety. It's just astounding. So I highly recommend that.
That does sound great. And, it sounds like since it's free, they probably have no way of compensating artists. I'm still on the other end of worrying about the compensating of musicians.
I wonder about that. And I started to look into it once and then started to get down a rabbit hole that was looking too much for me at the time. So I don't know the answer to that. Good question.
I doubt it, though. Where would they get the money to pay anybody? But, all right. Well, anyway, it's Radio Paradise. We will certainly investigate it. Before we go to Luis, I just want to, there's a couple of people who've called in, but they don't want to go on the air. Claudia from New York, this is up on Slack, I'm reading it. Claudia from New York wants to know if you know the parodied song My Zelda. Yes, I do, although I think she thought it was by Tom Lehrer, and it's not. It's by Alan Sherman. And it's a parody of Belafonte's Matilda that we opened the show with, and it's My Zelda, my Zelda, my Zelda, she took the money and run with the tailor. My Zelda, she found her big romance when I broke the zipper in my pants. That's the kind of thing. Anyway, that's the song that she's thinking of. And so the answer is yes, I do know that song. And Robin, also from New York, and not our boss, who's actually also screening calls, wanted to ask you if you ever miss having Kyone do the intros on your shows. Yeah, so if you know the show, we've been on the air 16 years or so. And when we started out, pretty early when we started out, so I recruited Chion Wolf to come in as kind of an announcer. I wanted her to be the first and last things that people heard on the show every day, so it just wouldn't be this guy. And then it turned out she was really funny. So we started doing these intros for her, and then we found this other guy named Greg Hill, who was also really funny. Both tremendous voice actors, and Wolfie can turn around a production job in, 20 minutes that would take somebody else all day. So I started writing comedy intros for them. And I do miss them, and sometimes the rerun comes on the air, and it's a really old one, and it'll have one. And I mean, we stopped partly because Greg left, or it was just his job was eliminated. And it was very hard to find male voice talent who could go up against Chion. And the other reason we stopped was I was having to write a comedy intro every day, in addition to everything else I have to do to get these shows on the air. And I was getting older, and my energy was going down. And so we decided, I decided enough. Luis hung up. Oh, well, Luis, you should feel free to call back. I think I know which Luis this is, too. 888-720-9677. If it's who I think it is, he's somebody who does not admire my work. 888-720-WNPR. But yeah, feel free. It's Ask or Tell Me Anything, even if you want to. I think his question was, how do I feel about the way that I use airtime? And I mean, I'm willing to try. It would be better if he were here, because if he's who I think he is, he doesn't think I use my airtime very well. But I mean, one thing about this show, this type of show, the Ask or Tell Me Anything show, we do this roughly once a week, and anybody can call up about anything. I've been in the air for 40 minutes. Nobody's called up about Venezuela. And I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying it suggests to me that people do not necessarily want to talk exclusively about the stories that are kind of are dominating news cycles, that they're, what we used to call kind of above the fold on page one, that people have a greater breadth of interests. And that really anybody can call up about anything right now. And I think that's one of the important, this is an unusual thing. Most people in public radio don't do this for a whole army of reasons. But I think it sort of tells you something that people are calling up about other stuff. All right, so let's go to Robin, and we've got Brett, and I think, no, that's John. Do I need to drop John? I don't know what has to happen there. All right, we're going to go to Robin in beautiful Collinsville. Hi, Robin.
Hey, Colin, how are you today?
Just fine.
Don't drop John. I'll be quick.
Okay.
I just wanted to share a memory. I love the format of the show today, and yes, I'm trying to escape Venezuela today.
Not literally.
Well, no, thank goodness. No, I'm here in Collinsville, just not turning on the news.
Do you have access to hatchets and axes anytime you need them to defend yourself, too? So.
That's right, and we could take all that stuff back, right?
Right.
So I just wanted to share a cool memory. My dad passed away a long time ago. A lot of boxes landed in my basement, and I found a trove of, those 78 wax numbers.
Yeah.
Those old, all the old swing collection that he had. And it brought back a memory, when he and his buddies would have card nights and poker nights, my sisters and I would do up little dance routines and play some of these old records because he had an old record player. We're going back a long time.
Right. And just to sort of help people who are maybe too young to know. So in the old days of records, first of all, 78s, I believe, became before 45s or 33s. They were kind of the way that recordings were released for a long time. They were physically larger diameter than 45s but smaller diameter than 33. Yeah, and they had a kind of particularly tinny sound to them.
They did.
And I don't know if I can have time to look it up right now. I do think that there's a nostalgia for all that. I was listening today to the jazz singer Catherine Russell, who this past year released an album with a group and the trumpet player and band leader's name, his first name is Colin. That's how I remember, obviously. But they clearly are going after that sound. It's really the old style. And it's a band that mixes brass and banjos and stuff the way maybe you might have heard, in Harlem in 1930 or something. So right. I think there's always nostalgia for that. Yeah.
Yeah, you just gave me an idea for something. But anyway, long story short, my sisters and I worked up a little routine to something called The Little Brown Jug by Glenn Miller.
Yeah.
And a catchy tune. And these were pressed on wax. These were like wax records, very rigid. So we were so excited that we got the routine down, and we put the record on the turntable, and it cracked.
Oh.
And all these guys were just, giving us a lot of guff for breaking the Little Brown Jug. And
That's when they goes. Is that the one that goes, "Little Brown Jug, how I love thee"?
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah. Okay.
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm terrible at keeping a tune, but anyway. But fortunately for us in our neighborhood, an old geezer had this vintage record shop, and I went in there in tears with the platter and pieces, and he found me another one, and I was able to replace it for my dad like 2 years later.
Oh, that's a happy story.
Delighted him to no end.
Robin,
happy story.
Yeah, Robin, thank you so much for calling in and sharing that. It's a great story. We are going to move over to, where are we going to go over to? We'll start with Brett, and then we'll go to Mary Jane. All right, so we got to take a break pretty soon, though, too. Brett, you've got the next call. You're on the floor right now. And you need to turn down your radio, or it'll mess with your brain.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Commercial real estate, which it's out of control. In the land of the free, there's never going to be any free land, and none of us are free. None of us work for free. None of us can not work. Well, I mean, there's like 80% of the population who cannot work. There's plenty of people who have residual income that can not work, but there's no land of the free.
Well, that is true.
How do we fix this?
I mean, I think the expression means something different, but yeah, I mean, no, look, it's a capitalist society. It is kind of based on that idea that people are going to try to maximize profits. People are going to try to accumulate wealth, and they're going to have to accumulate wealth because the state is going to provide a limited number of services. And so the history of utopian visions is the history of saying, wow, would there be a better way to do this? Is there some other way that would not be, and good luck with all that. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but they really want me to go to break here. Luis is back. We'll take him on the other side of this, and we'll also talk to Marianne in Orange. So take a very quick break. We'll be back.
Here on land and from the sea, miracles expand my heart and mind. Nature's wonder leaves me changed, body, spirit, and in name. Knowing you is living of new
All right, that was picked out by our technical producer, Dylan Reyes, who is abroad right now, or I mean, he's not in the building anyway. In his place, We have a Jedi Master. Eugene Amatruda is our technical producer today. This is a production of the Lily Tyson Quality Entertainment Productions. That means she produced it. And Robin Doyen-Aiken, our wonderful boss, is actually screening calls right now. So thank you all for tuning in. We have a little bit of time left. We are now going to get to Luis, finally, from New Haven. You have the floor, sir.
Hi, thank you, Colin, for taking my call.
Sure.
How are you?
Fine.
Well, I wanted to, I wanted to talk about Connecticut Public's mission and, how it's used to empower people through journalism and storytelling. So I often find that communities across the state and the nation are facing really, important, big challenges. And sometimes I tune into your show and there's things that I'd rather, kind of like change the dial. So I was wondering about how do you decide the format or the tone of your show to meet this journalistic responsibility that Connecticut Public has?
I think one way of answering that question is I don't. The way that I do this show and my producers and I do the show, we do shows that we're interested in. And I also think it's a mistake to assume you're not commenting meaningfully on something if you are not commenting on it or covering it the way everybody else is covering it. One of the things we don't want to do is cover stuff the way everybody else is covering it. So, when we do a show about the Red Scare or the McKinley era, or the nature of revenge and revanchist political movements, we're not doing a show about the news that's breaking right now. We're giving you perspectives or giving people perspectives anyway, on a lot of the news that's breaking that come at it from different angles. So, and as I was saying before, on this show, these types of shows, we do these once a week. People can call up about anything. I don't make any choices about that. And so look what they're calling up about. They are calling up about a wide range of different things. I think one of the mistakes, I used to work in commercial radio where we typically did, I was there for 16 years, whatever the big stories of the day were, we pound away at them. I was the liberal voice in an otherwise very conservative, very big 50,000 watt AM station, and it really was that kind of talking points, hot takes on the news stuff. It's not what we do here on this show.
Yeah, and I ask because, public radio feels especially important right now. And, some of us are listening closely for voices that reflect what our communities are actually caring about. And sometimes I do feel that there's this disconnect, from your shows. Granted, I do appreciate you taking my call. And I do, I do understand that we have the power to really, to speak out on it's their First Amendment right. But I just find that disconnection. So I sometimes try to sort of like, I hear that disconnection. So that's
yeah.
I guess
if you're who I think you are, you're the guy. You've had this problem with me for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you called me a bad journalist one time because I wasn't covering the stuff that you thought I should cover. And I get that and I understand it. And then you rallied all the Working Family Party people in New Haven with this long string of like calling me all kinds of horrible names. I can't do the show.
I don't think that was me. I can't speak for other people.
Well, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I can't do the show for everybody. I mean, I think one of the things that under Mark Contreras, our CEO, I think this station has done a pretty amazing job of really meeting diverse communities where they live, having specific initiatives to meet very specific communities where they live, particularly Latino communities. We now also have a Black journalism initiative. We have a lot of stuff that we do that meets all those different things. I mean, I'm a little bit different. I'm this quirky guy who's been around for a really long time, and on this show, we approach things in a very different way. And, I think we probably please and engage a different kind of person from you. But I would hate to think there isn't stuff on Connecticut Public Radio that doesn't speak to you, because, I think a lot of effort has been put in.
Definitely. And I think, if at some point we run into each other, we'd love to chat with you and have a coffee. If I hear that you love coffee and you hang out in West Hartford coffee shop, so at some point I might run into you.
Yeah, that'd be great, Luis. I would love to have a very civilized and engaging conversation with you. And all right, which one are we going to do? Oh, I said Marianne, so we'll do that. And this is the kind of thing Luis thinks we should cover, so that's good too. Marianne from Orange, you have the floor.
Hi. I wanted to tell you that a few years ago I had gone to one of the town board meetings here. I can't remember whether it was about school issues or what, but there were pamphlets there that I felt were very un-American that were, it turned out, published or supported by the John Birch Society. I didn't even know that the John Birch Society was still around doing this. And I was very disturbed that they were scattered all over the community center so that anybody could pick them up. I don't know what we can do to counter the white supremacist and whether it's anti-Semitic or anti-Black or anti-everything else kind of issues that they bring up. But I know you've done programs on the Red Scare, McCarthyism, but to let people know that these voices still exist and to make people aware that they should be looking at where the sources of some of the pamphlets that might be, spread around are coming from. I mean, there were no communist pamphlets. There were no, dare I say, democratic socialist pamphlets.
On the other hand, the fact that they're using pamphlets is an indication that John Birch Society needs to maybe sort of catch up with the digital age. But I hear you, and I think there's a little bit of a myth that in Connecticut we don't have stuff like that. But we've had Ku Klux Klan rallies in Connecticut over the years, and Connecticut is as infected with all this stuff as anywhere else. So, and we have done shows about this also in the past. But let me just quickly get Connor on the air, and we're probably going to be out of time after this. Hi, Connor. Connor in Beacon Falls. We're going to have to do this fast, sir.
Hi, I can be fast.
Okay.
So I'm 24 years old, and I'm wondering what the age of the youngest caller you've ever had is.
I'm sure we've had, people call up who are below the age of majority. I can't... It's the callers. It's kind of hard to remember everybody who called up, but we do have. Obviously, this is an older person's medium. Public broadcasting is really working hard not to be strictly an older person's medium. I'm 71 years old. I can't do anything about that. But we hope with the choices that we make that we will attract a certain kind of. In 10 seconds, was there a reason that you were asking about that?
Yes, because I'm absolutely addicted to NPR. I can't get enough of it, and I feel like kind of an old soul. I don't really know why I'm so addicted to it.
Well, there's your biological age, and then your true internal age. That's why Dylan Reyes, who's our technical producer, is 23 years old. Except he's like about 67, I think. Anyway, we have to go. Gene, play the music.
Put them together, you know what the last one must be. Baby, so the truth, honor, and happiness. And one thing more, meaning only wonderful, wonderful love that'll make it fun.